you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Smith along with
Kerry Smith
here on Smith Radio on Sunday evening, March the 12th, 2015. You can hear us on iHeartRadio at iHeartRadio.com//Smith Radio. You can also find us on iTunes at Smith Radio. We are always, not blogging, but sharing comments and articles and up-to-date things on Facebook as well. You can get us there at Smith Radio on Facebook.
Keeping you informed at all times.
All time, throughout the entire week, 24/7, because betwixt the two of us, somebody is up at any given point in time. And when that call comes in at 3 a.m., you know you want us picking up the call. Oh, wow.
We forwarded it.
Yeah, we got a forwarding system. So we are on location today. We are broadcasting from an undisclosed high-rise.
That's right. Normally we're in the bunker. That's right. Now we are looking down upon the world.
Yes,
way up
I
high.
now know how it feels to be king, looking down at all my subjects.
I will tell you this. I can verify that heat does rise.
It's warmer here than when we were on the ground.
And you know what? That is definitely attributed to global warming. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Hey, I got an email from one of our listeners this week, and she was really excited to hear us talk about ourselves, which I really don't like to do that much.
Yeah, but you know what happens? For those of you that don't know the genesis of this show, we used to call each other and talk about politics on the phone amongst each other in the privacy of our own little conversation, just the two of us. And it was so entertaining to us. We were like, man, other people have got to hear this.
But we have to tone down and be somewhat politically correct.
Well,
not politically correct, but we have to be...
Just watch the language and stuff like that.
Family friendly. Family
friendly, right, which is not an issue. As long as I don't lose sight of the fact that we're broadcasting, then, you know, the language is fine. And we're good with that. But so, that being said, I actually like the idea of us just talking amongst ourselves about whatever, because it always was entertaining.
And if you hear some of our very, very first shows over a year ago.
Yeah, we had like our year anniversary, didn't we? Wow.
It's still coming up. It's at the end of this month, actually.
Oh, okay, yep. So we're not there yet, but we're going to have a huge party.
Big blast. You're all invited.
That's right.
Everyone's invited.
It'll be on the National Mall. We're going to fill it up.
We have been donated. It's been donated to us well over $1 million for the party.
Yeah, the GoFundMe. Go ahead and find us there.
But some of our first shows, we attempted to recreate that whole talking between each other, because if you ever recorded us talking to each other on the phone, not knowing we were being recorded, bro, it was comedy gold.
Definitely. I remember being halfway through a conversation thinking to myself, wow, I feel like I felt a loss knowing that this has not been captured.
Right.
To be replayed for future generations.
And then one time I did record a call of ours, and Kerry didn't know. But he knew. I knew, but he didn't know.
Yeah, it ends up not being family friendly.
It wasn't family friendly. It's been since deleted, so don't even scour the net for it, because it never made it on the net. But the whole point was that I found myself knowingly prodding because I knew it was recorded, so it just didn't work.
Well, and the funny thing that you say that, once I found out it was recorded, I could look back and reflect on the conversation and know that you were acting a little bit differently than normal. It sounded like you were you may have been trolling me a little bit, like trying to get me. I don't know. It was like you were a lot more inquisitive than usual.
Yeah, I felt that way.
Yeah, and me being who I am, I love to talk about myself. I was like, oh, yeah, I can answer that question.
So that 6-hour conversation
it was like you got to reduce the quality to reduce the size of the file, and you could fit it.
Wow.
You could just email it.
You could email it 6 hours between everybody.
Which is weird. I downloaded an audiobook, which is 7 hours, and I was kind of surprised at how long it took. I was like, it's just audio, right?
Right.
No, it took a while to download it. I had to sit there with the phone on the Wi-Fi for a while in order to get it all. And so, yeah, those audio files. Oh, another thing I started doing was downloading music, and I never done it before. And I thought, man, with my hard drive, I should be able to fit, I don't know, a couple 100 million songs, maybe?
You would think.
No, those high-quality music files actually take up a little bit more space than you think.
Yeah, they're pretty large. Well, and depending on the format, and the larger format, the better the quality, of course. So, I don't know, just I guess a brief little bit about each other. I mean, we love technology. We love computers. We love to talk politics. I would say among everybody I know, we are probably the most savvy, politically astute guys of our age group, who are not completely unhinged.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I was not expecting that. So everybody else, obviously, who would fit that category, they are unhinged, is what you're saying.
Well, if they know as much as we know.
Yeah, you know, it's so hard to avoid being cynical because people who are not as in the know as us,
right?
They hear the cynicism and then they're like, "Oh, these guys are just a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing, blah blah blah," you know.
No, I actively control myself from going down that rabbit hole
because you know that somebody listening is gonna. I think it was your dad. Your dad said, "You know, you guys are not going to sound credible when you talk about stuff like that." But how is it uncredible to talk about something that either is 100% verified as fact? You know, that's the kind of world we live in, where there's certain truths and facts that are verified. They cannot be disputed. It's just what it is. But if you say it, somebody that doesn't know any better hears it, says, "Oh, well, I'm not listening to those guys because they're obviously out of their minds."
Right. Well, like there was a story this week that I kind of slipped just very slightly for a split second, and then I pulled back and I said, "This isn't newsworthy. I don't want anything to do with this."
Why wasn't it newsworthy?
Apparently, there's a girl, and I even forget her name. I erased the name and the whole thought of it because I wasn't going to bring it up.
And now we're bringing it up.
But this is part of it all.
Right.
Apparently, there's a young black woman in her 20s that had a child that went to the White House to go see Obama and was gunned down, turned around at the barricades, and she drove off in a high-speed chase, and she was gunned down and killed. And they're saying that she was killed because Obama got her pregnant, and that was Obama's baby.
Somebody got gunned down
by the Secret Service. So that I should have researched that more.
No, I'm saying, how is it that this was not brought up by any kind of mainstream news or even the radio shows this week? I didn't hear anything about it.
It might be a year old.
Oh,
it
so
might
it's
be
not
6
recently.
months old. It
Okay.
might be a little bit older.
So it's not new news. So you were digging down the rabbit hole and you found an old news story.
It came across some of my avid followers. Sent me the video and said, "You're not going to believe this video."
And you didn't.
Shows. No, he didn't believe it. Shows it. Somebody had a potato cam.
Oh, you know, it might be an old story because it's hard to find potato cam footage anymore. That footage is hard to find.
It was high def potato cam footage.
Man.
And it showed somebody on the grassy knoll with the footage of a car trying to get into the White House. And she backed up, trying to run over there, surrounded by Secret Service all over the place. She drove off. 2 more cops followed her. She went around one of those water fountains in a circle, and the cops followed her around the circle.
You mean they didn't cut her off going the other way? Oh, so it was like Keystone Cops.
It was, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, why did the cops stop? and she couldn't get it out.
Oh, that's some Keystone Cop stuff right there.
So I left
they
that
ended up
one
they ended up gunning her down, and so there was a conspiracy behind it.
Oh yes, the conspiracy was that this was Obama. This will bring down Obama's administration. He has an illegitimate baby.
So it wasn't that his Secret Service gunned down a pregnant woman that will bring down his presidency. It's that it might be his child that will bring down his presidency.
That's what was so hysterical. Because the title of the article trolled me.
And
it was, this woman will bring down... The murder of this woman will bring down Obama.
That will definitely suck you in. How do you not click that? You have to click that. Oh, that's what we have to deal with on a daily. And we were talking. We had a conversation because we do this show both on the air and every time we talk on the phone. And so we had a conversation about how Matt Drudge is so popular. His website's so popular, not because he writes articles or writes good articles or does any kind of writing of anything. It's because he's a master troll. He's able to write great headlines that suck you in. But anyway.
Birther preacher claims Obama had mother of his love child.
Where did you find
If you type in Obama kills baby's mama, the first thing that comes up, Obama kills his baby's mama. Miriam...
With a question mark, by the way.
Right. Hashtag Miriam Carey. That's her name.
Okay.
The woman's name is Miriam Carey. And apparently they're claiming that she was having an affair with Obama. And she was carrying his baby.
Let me tell you something about the Obama family. When you're married to Michelle, I don't care how bad you want it, you are not cheating.
Well, not only are you not cheating, but if you did, you're not getting out. And if you did, Michelle will take care and do the cleanup.
Yeah, if you cheated on Michelle, first of all, you
Lord.
can't trust that she wouldn't find out because you could see in her eyes. You could tell that she's the type of person that would. Remember the movie True Lies?
Oh boy,
how he ends up using government resources to track down who his wife is cheating on him with.
Right.
Well, Michelle would probably take that to the end.
Right.
She would probably call foreign presidents and say, can I enlist your guys' help?
She wouldn't call him. She would text them and say, you need to get involved.
Yeah, she wouldn't ask. She would say, this is what's going to happen.
And Matt Drudge this week, title that grabbed me, one of those really hooks. You call it a hook in sales.
Okay.
And that hook, the first words out of your mouth is a hook or not a hook to grab your potential sale. And this one was from a website from MotherJones.com.
Oh my gosh, they're the biggest trolls ever.
And Mother Jones wrote an article that said, meet the only person on earth who can run a drama-free campaign for Clinton. Well, Drudge's hook to get me, a conservative Tea Party patriot, to even want to read anything out of MotherJones.com. The title was... let me preface the title before I tell you the title. The 35-year-old guy who's running Hillary's campaign, his last name is Mook.
Like, how do you spell it?
M-O-O-K, Mook.
We call that Mook.
Correct, but for the hook, it has to be Mook.
Oh, is there a rhyme?
You get the rhyme? For the hook, right. It has to be Mook.
All right.
So Matt Drudge's title was, by Mook or by Crook?
I love it! Oh, I love it.
By Mook or by Crook, Hillary will run.
Okay.
And so he's got, it's just, those are the things that you've got to, when you're in the political blogosphere or the internet sphere of politics.
Which anybody who's listening to the show, yeah.
You guys know. You're on point.
That's how you got here.
Right. Well, but the whole thing is that you can start to see through the hooks. You can start to see through certain things and become more educated, more savvy, and sharp as to whether you want to allow yourself to be sold on reading that article or not.
Right. I like to let myself get hooked in and try to figure out while I'm reading it how to counteract it.
Dude, you are a strange one.
I'm a glutton for money.
Oh, because there's things that I refuse.
My favorite phrase of all time that I like to say myself is, "Let me show you where you're wrong." It's that's like my motto.
Nice.
And so when I hear the hook, I don't ever assume, if it's something that I vehemently oppose, I automatically assume, well, I know they're wrong. That's a given. There's no, I wonder if they're wrong. No. I've already come to that conclusion because when I was in my 20s, I would have been not experienced enough to know whether it is or isn't. But I've come down to the point now in my age and wisdom and knowledge and over the years that this is why I'm right and this is why they're wrong. I was on the wrong side all those years.
Right.
I was a bleeding heart liberal, and I didn't know why I was right, but it felt right. And that's the key. I thought I was right because it felt right. And all the other liberals and low information voters out there think that the liberals are right because it feels right. But once you get the wisdom, life experiences, and that part of your brain that is actually disconnected until you get to like 30 or so, that makes you a more logical and clear thinker. Once you get to that point, that's when you start to see all the holes in liberalism.
Oh, it's amazing.
And so that's where I got to. But it was good that I was all the way to the left, because now that I'm to the side of righteousness, I can go back and tap the memories of where I was. Why did I think that way? That way, whenever I see it, and I see, I remember when I used to think that way.
Right.
Then I can tap back. Why did I think that way? And now, when somebody tells me something, a liberal says, this is why it's right, I can see that and say, yeah, I remember when I was wrong too. And this is why I was wrong, and this is where you're going to get to if you ever want to get to the side of righteousness. And that's how all intelligent liberals will one day be conservative.
And you say that intelligent liberals because if you don't have an ounce of intelligence, you can't possibly come around to being conservative. You can't possibly come around to being that freedom-loving, personal responsibility having individual.
I can say it another way too.
Okay.
If you ever meet an older liberal, and when I mean older, I would say if they're, I'll say 35 or older. Okay. If you meet a guy who is completely married to the left ideology and they're 35 or older, I can show you a guy who's either one of two things. He's either really dumb, and I can show that. I'm not just saying you're dumb because you don't agree with what I'm saying. No. I'm saying that I was there. I thought I knew it was right, and it turns out it was wrong, and I was smart enough to overcome that. So since you were unable to overcome that using intelligence, by definition, you're dumb.
Right.
Or B, you are using liberalism to empower yourself. So either one or the other. If you meet a left-thinking ideologue who's 35 or older, they're one of those two. They're either just dumb and there's nothing they can do about it, or they're using liberalism to empower themselves.
Correct. Something that I kind of slipped down the rabbit hole.
You're in a rabbit hole right now.
Well, no, a little bit. I don't know. I was sitting there today doing nothing, at work, and
which is, that's cool.
I started thinking to myself, something came across the internet, and it was about Sarah Palin. And I said, you know what? What is this obsession that the left has with Sarah Palin?
It is weird. It's weird.
Not only is it weird, but it is so out there. Like, you should never, these are the things you should never do in life. You should never Google Sarah Palin, put it on images, and take off all restrictions.
Oh, take the family filter off.
Yes!
Oh.
Don't you ever, I mean, you can if you want, but let me forewarn you.
Yeah, that would require a disclaimer.
Oh, it certainly would. And it's
Wow.
And so I because I saw what I saw and I was just disturbed by. I mean, they got all kinds of pictures of Bush and Obama and
But isn't it
Cheney,
weird?
but there is this, might I say, this family-friendly show, so I'll be to take care of myself. But might I say that there is a very, very disturbing sexual element that the left has with Sarah Palin.
Well,
And I couldn't figure it out, but I came to a conclusion because I saw somebody write something about it. Go
well,
ahead.
you have an explanation.
Was somewhat. There was a
Because I have a little bit of, I could throw a couple things out there.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, number one, the sexual deviants tend to be more on the left anyway.
Right.
And I
Right.
think when you're talking about, we just talked about how liberals think more, or not think, but they come to conclusions based on feeling and emotion and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to sex, they're definitely down that road.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me that you type in Sarah Palin in the Google search, take family filter off, and click images, and it's probably going to be really not
Very, very disturbing.
right.
And so there's AmericanThinker.com, which I highly recommend being posted to all their articles and their Twitter, things on Facebook, so you can get some of their articles. But one of the writers, James Lewis, has written an article called Sex and Sarah Palin. And his whole notion was, he says, why does the left loathe her so much? And, I said that. I said, why does the left loathe her so much? And I said, I found the answer, and this is what he said. He said, Sarah looks like a normal woman who is loved by a normal man.
Ooh, interesting.
She looks the part of a normal, very, very beautiful soccer mom, hockey mom.
Yeah.
About the kids. She's about her children. She's about her husband. She would take care of her husband in all facets of whatever, being a good... It's the glue that holds the family together. That's the mom, and my wife as well. My wife, I continue to tell her this over and over again. You are the glue that holds the kids and me and everything together.
Well, let me ask you this then, because that begs the question. I have that. As soon as you said that, okay, let me put it to you this way. That's something new to me. I've never would have guessed that. But now that I heard that, the question is now begged to be asked. Does that mean that the left likes women that because they look like somebody that a normal man wouldn't like, or that only oddball men would like? I mean, what?
No,
How do we come to this conclusion?
Well, he talks about this in his article, but if you look at, here he even says this. Let me quote this. He says, "Look at the difference. Barack H. Hussein Obama has worked his whole life to be worshipped by the angry left as a communist organizer in the Saul Alinsky mold of radical culture. Yes, communist organizer,
Right.
not community organizer.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've never thought of that either. No, seriously, think about it. And the word communist has been so tainted, because anytime I use the word, or anybody on the right uses the word communist, you think about the McCarthy era, which
Right.
is so unfortunate, because you got to call a spade, and words matter. They mean things, and the definitions do matter. And if somebody's a communist, you got to call them a communist. That doesn't mean that I'm going to put them in a congressional hearing and say, "Have you ever been? Have you now, or are you now, or have you ever been a communist, or whatever they do."
Carrying communist.
Right. And well, anyway.
Speaking of that, this is later on in the show, but Bill Maher had a panel guest this week, and they were trying to figure out why the Muslim Islam culture is the evil. There's cancer inside it, and one of the...
What do you mean there's cancer inside it? I think it is a cancer itself.
So they were picking apart one of the guys who claims to be conservative of sorts said that it's these Muslims are lashing out like this because They have no other avenue. Communism is over. Fascism is over, and they've got no. This week he's talking like this.
Well, I've never in this show have ever accused Islam of trying or attempting to go down the road of communism.
No.
So he might have some sort of a point there. But to think that communism is dead, oh my God!
He even made the comment. He's like, there's nobody out there trying to be a Putinite. Well, I mean, there's some, but there's nobody trying to be a Putinite. That's what he said.
Communism is more a part of the world, humanity, I should say.
Right.
It's more. Communism has dug its claws, its meat hooks, into humanity more now than any time during the USSR.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Mainly because of the attack on capitalism.
Right.
Back in the day, capitalism, and when I mean back in the day, I mean during the entire Cold War era, people who were against the Soviet Union and communism in general really embraced capitalism. Now capitalism is so vilified that communism is now the default. It's not, we got the communists here, we got the capitalists here. No. Now it's just capitalism is so under assault, so vilified, and people are raised from birth everywhere in the West and East and everywhere that there's so much evil in capitalism that you end up landing on the default, which is communism, that's the problem with the world today.
Right. Not being taught correctly. So back to the article real quick.
Yeah.
Here's what he says in parentheses. James Lewis says in parentheses, he says, yes, communist organizer is what Alinsky was, and proud of it. The label community organizer is just another twisted lie.
Well, I don't even know if it's a lie.
Well, hold on. They
go
don't organize. They make war on the most productive people, and they're proud of it.
Yeah. Well, let's get.
So, but that's the black and white, the yin and yang, and I don't really mean black Obama, white Palin, but that really is the black and white of the whole issue. Is that Sarah Palin is an image of something that the feminists absolutely hate, because she got what she got by hook or crook. She got what she got by really working hard at it.
Doing it the American way.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting. I will go ahead and cite Rush Limbaugh for this. The undeniable facts of life, truths, or something. He says that feminism is nothing more than a way for unattractive women access to the mainstream. And when they look at Sarah Palin, she's a very attractive woman. And they know that she won't need feminism to have access to... Actually, I'm going to take it all the way to the end. They look at her and they're like, this attractive woman, so we hate her. Because she got everything that she got unfairly with her looks.
Right.
Whereas feminism, and let me tell you something about feminism. You don't have to be an ugly woman to be a feminist.
No.
Everybody on the left has co-opted the feminist movement in order for it to be under their umbrella. So when we say left, we mean when we say feminism, that also means left. It falls under the left.
Right.
And so that could be a reason why they hate. But yeah, there's a lot of hatred towards her.
And you don't have to. And when we say good looking, you don't have to be some model-esque person out there. Your personality and your attitude and your virtues, what just makes up you, can well overcompensate any slight flaw or anything that may not be model-esque. You can certainly be an absolutely beautiful shining light just with your inner personality being a virtue.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and they don't. The left does not hold. They hold virtuality and morality as the bottom of the pit. I step on that stuff.
Yeah,
and they don't understand that that's what makes you a very successfing person, and they don't want to believe it.
And don't get me wrong. Now that you're saying all this, I don't want to come off as sounding like there's something really tangible about beauty alone. I've seen girls who could be cover girls
Oh, yes.
who come off looking very ugly to me because of their attitude.
I
They
don't
got a
want any-
terrible. They're
Right.
evil people that have terrible, mean-spirited personalities, and I don't care that they could be a cover girl. They are ugly, not just to me. I'm sure anybody that gets to know them would just be like, I don't like them.
Right.
And so a lot of these people that I call ugly on the left, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is
So
a
you
perfect.
think I was
actually
going
think
there.
if you don't know anything about her and you just saw a picture of her, I honestly am kind of attracted to her. I think she's not a bad.
DWC is not bad, but
She's
and I
not a
have to
bad-looking
separate.
girl.
I have to separate the words that come out of her mouth with her looks in order to evaluate her looks.
But let me tell you something. After knowing her as well as I do from listening to all of her interviews, there is no uglier person that I know.
Well, now that you say that, that's funny you bring her up. And just real quick, I'll close this article out real fast by saying, in stark contrast to Obama, James writes, Palin has lived a life of an ordinary American who has achieved extraordinary things. She's not an instinctive member of the power class. If she gets elected, she'll get there on her own virtues and hard work. And that's the opposite of what Obama's done. For instance, the Chicago Machine, the power control. He placed the UAW union on the board of directors of GM. That's Government Motors, by the way. You know, Obama is a descendant of Saul Alinsky, infamous alliance between the left and Chicago mob. So you've got, and the older I get, and the more I talk to my kids about this, the older I get, the more it seems to me of an absolute black and white, wrong and right type of thing.
Oh, yeah, because I always look at Shades of Grey that the left always say.
And not the book or the movie.
Yeah, well, they say it's not just black and white. There's all kinds of shit. When somebody says there's a shade of gray, what they really mean, if you want to cut through all the garbage, what they really mean is I don't have enough wisdom, knowledge, and experience to know where the correct answer is. So I'm just going to say I don't know. And it's unknowable because I'm not that stupid. It's a very vain thing to just say it's a shade of gray, and none of you guys have the answer out there. Just because you don't have the answer doesn't mean that there is no correct answer.
But how arrogant must you be to say that because you don't have the answer, that nobody else has the answer, and it's all shades of gray?
Yeah, I mean it's an inability to say, I just don't know enough about that subject to know where all the right answers are.
Something that we learned back in the day, the two of us, when we were doing a lot of leadership research and things like that, something that was a paradigm shift for me.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this, but I agree with you 100% on this. So,
okay, folks, take a pie, a round pie, could be a big pie, could be a small pie, a really round pie, and this is the pie of knowledge. This whole pie represents God knowledge, the knowledge that God has.
Every single thing that you know that can be known,
that can be possibly known, and it's all known. And I say God because He is the all-knowing. So this whole God pie of knowledge, you look at it, and out of 100%,
well, there was a question. The question is,
how
out
much
of that?
Right.
How much of that do you know?
How much out of that do you know that you know? Hear me again. How much out of that pie that you know for an absolute fact that you know? Like your job. You know your job. Your job is part of that pie. And then, you know a little bit about people. You know how to drive a car.
Oh, if you raise kids, you know something about kids and stuff like that.
That's part of the knowledge. So the percentage of that pie that you know. Now figure that number out in your mind. Okay. Now think about all the stuff that you know that you don't know. Like, I don't know how to fly the space shuttle. I don't know how to be a biological chemist. I couldn't make crack for you out of a shack in the back of a trailer park.
Yeah, there's a whole, and we all know that this is knowledge that we don't know. You know it. I know that I don't know that, and that right there would be, unless you're really vain, it would be a pretty big chunk.
Right. So as a percentage, what we're looking at here, what you know, and what you don't know. Now, the first part that you know is less than 1%.
It'd be so tiny.
So minuscule. The stuff that you don't know, it might be 2%. And what do you think? I mean, because you can look around you all day long and not know about your entire environment around you.
Yeah, so it would be everybody, you got to be pretty vain to think that you know. Yeah, it would. The percentage of stuff that you know, compared to the stuff you don't know, is definitely going to be small, right? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff you don't know.
And you don't know it, and a lot of times you'll be like, man, I wish I really knew about that stuff. Or the questions. You question things every day on a day. Like my daughter the other day, she asked, why does... something to the fact of why does the ball make noise when it hits the ground, but it doesn't make noise when you throw it in the air? Just little things
that's a good question.
Just little things like that.
Yeah, that's an inquisitive child right
just
there.
Just amazing things so when you ask yourself questions every day, like, man, I really wish I could get my kids to obey. I just can't figure it out. That's something you don't know. But that's cool. Okay.
Now here's the paradigm shift. This blew my mind because I never thought about it before.
What we've just talked about is probably a total of the pie of about 2 to 3% of the pie. That represents your entire life and existence. The other 97% is everything you don't know. You don't know.
You don't even know you don't know.
You don't even know you don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were being taught things that we didn't even know we didn't know.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that.
Right.
It's such a huge chunk of that pie.
So if you are, and I really like to say, it's what I see in my everyday life. If you are that real conservative, personal responsibility type person that takes responsibility for your surroundings, you try to be the best person you can be. The 10 Commandments are something that you understand and you say, yes, that sounds right, that's good. You're that kind of person that can learn more, can advance more, and can comprehend when Carrie and I talk to you, you can comprehend what we're talking about.
Right.
The opposite to that are the liberals or the left. Not only will they not comprehend, but they will shut the door down on you so's not to let them know that they don't know something they don't know.
Well, and then my question now is, because you brought this up, you brought that circle of knowledge up as a response or in the discussion about gray areas. And you're hearing for the first time me brainstorming how it relates to gray areas. I feel like the reason the left has so much gray area and they think that the gray area is real is because that is part of that 97% circle. They don't even know that they don't know it. They think it's unknowable, like the right and the wrong. It's a gray area and nobody will be able to find that. What they don't know is they don't even know that there is a right answer in that gray area.
Right.
So,
and I'm laughing because I knew where he was going with that. And that shows the level of ignorance with these people.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling anybody stupid. I'm not saying you're a moron.
Oh, by the way, the word ignorance is another word stolen from us.
What? I use it all the time. It's a legal word.
It's a legitimate... everybody looks at it as kind of like stupid. When you call somebody stupid, that's a really derogatory word. It's insulting, very insulting. So many people, when they hear the word ignorant, they take it as so insulting. It's a technical term. It means that you don't know it. Actually, the root of it would be ignore. So
to ignore fact.
yeah, but
to ignore truth.
I don't really I don't really define it as you're ignoring it. I define it as you just don't know about that. Like I'm ignorant of flying the space shuttle,
Correct.
and I was ignorant about the child that Obama killed. I didn't know that he had a pregnant woman that he had murdered by the Secret Service. I didn't know that.
And there's something that comes about with what us conservatives are, and it's humility. And let me tell you, the left has no humility whatsoever.
They're ignorant of humility.
Yes, completely. So now back to ignorance, and you brought up DWC. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They call her DWC on the internet for short, 3 letters instead of the sentence that is her 3-part name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week, they Rand Paul, for the conservative Tea Party, if you will, he's got some personal issues that I'm on the fence about, but we're delving into it, and we're gonna vet him out. This week, he was asked about abortion. And he danced around the question. They pressed him and they pressed him.
Really?
And he danced around it and got out of the interview, got away from it.
Wow. I don't like that. I mean, if you've
well,
listened to our show before, you know where we stand on it.
Absolutely. So, they were hoping, this news organization was hoping, that if they put this out there, that it's blood in the water, and other mediaites will jump on it and say, oh, Rand Paul can't answer abortion questions. So while Rand Paul was in front of, given a news presser, if you will, all of a sudden, one of the pressers shouted out, what about abortion? What's your stand on abortion? And this is what he had to say about that.
What's the DNC say? Why don't we ask the DNC, is it okay to kill a 7-pound baby in the uterus? You go back and you ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz if she's okay with killing a 7-pound baby that is just not yet born yet. Ask her when life begins, and you ask Debbie when she's willing to protect life. When you get an answer from Debbie, come back.
Okay,
I don't. Brilliant. I love it.
Really? I don't. Oh, I was frustrated with the way
I
he
understand what you're saying.
responded, but I do like how he created like a firestorm.
Yeah, well, no. It wasn't just a firestorm. You got to understand, this is why he said that to this guy, and this is why I think it was the perfect response.
Okay.
Because he's going to get blasted no matter how he answers it. If he says, there's 2 ways he can go with this. He could either say what we say, which is it's a human life, I'm totally against abortion, and that's that. Or if he did that, then all of a sudden what he'll do is he'll get the low information voters. That's the problem. Independents, you got your conservatives, which is like 20% or 40%. Then you got 20%, which is your liberals, and then you have everybody else that's like all these low information voters. You can get the low information voters rallied against somebody when they say, we are trying to take away your ability to have sex.
Right.
And low information voters respond to that. Okay, so that's one way that they were going to get him. Right. The other thing he could say is, I'm against abortion, but that's not going to be a campaign issue with me. There's bigger things, there's bigger fish to fry, so I'm not pursuing ending murder on an innocent human life in the form of abortion. If he went down that road, all of his primary voters are going to jump ship.
Right.
So he's screwed no matter what. Now, here's why I like what he said.
The more I'm thinking about it, I like it too. But go ahead.
Yeah. So he's got all these political analysts that are saying, don't answer that question. And so I love what he ended up doing, which was what you just heard in the audio. And the reason I love it is because the only reason they're beating his ass on this is to try to take support away from him, either from low information morons or from the primary voters that are his base. That's their only reason. They're trying to take away from him on one side or the other, right?
Right.
Why aren't they doing this to the left ever? And so his response was perfect, in my opinion, because he needs to call them out. It's not about his position on abortion. If I had to guess, that's why he shouldn't answer. Because the right knows where the hell he stands.
Well, yeah,
he doesn't want to murder innocent life.
Right, he's on the Republican side of this campaign.
So he doesn't need to say it. It's just
everybody knows what the Republican stance is on abortion.
It's just like Obama doesn't need to say he's going to turn America into the USSR, RA, whatever, which is the new Soviet Union in the New World. Because everybody on the left knows that's what they don't need. Right. So I love the way he attacked the real problem here. The problem here is that our fourth branch of government, which is the media, that was our founders wanted or viewed freedom of speech and freedom of press. They viewed that as the stopgap, the safety switch. Hey, if these three branches of government are colluding against the people, we need the fourth branch, which is the journalists, to say, hey, everybody look, these guys are screwing you.
Right.
Well, what they're doing now is they're colluding with the left, who are now running the whole government under Obama. They're trying to they're trying to collude with them against the American people by asking ridiculous questions of conservatives that they refuse to ask of the liberals. And thank God Rand Paul did a beautiful job of calling them out on it. It's not about Rand Paul. It's about the journalists.
And here's what happened. It hit the internet. It caused a firestorm, and everybody started begging DWS, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the reason why...
Oh, that's sweet. I love it.
The reason why she's even being brought up is because she's the head of the DNC. She's the head of... She runs the Democrat National Convention and the party. She's the head of that. So when she says something, it is deemed as talking points of their party.
And that's her problem. She's not even human.
She's a humanoid.
You remember Robbie the Robot?
Yes, that's what
whenever you ask him a question, it goes, before he answers, it goes, and then he'll answer.
Well, you can hear her head doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly. She is Debbie the Robot. She's Debbie the Robot, and when you ask her a question, any question at all, she has to go through the very limited set of talking point answers for the question.
And so she had plenty of time.
She went...
Plenty of people to contact, to consult. She could have consulted...
she had lots of time.
She at least had a few hours.
She had like a whole day. Like maybe 2 days. I don't know.
She finally came out and, quote, I quote...
Oh, you don't have soundbite? You just got...
No.
Okay, that's
I
cool.
believe she tweeted it.
Okay.
Or she put it out
okay,
there. Right. And I quote... Here's an answer. She's got to preface her answer by telling you it's an answer.
Oh my God! And you know what? Even Robbie the Robot doesn't insult our intelligence like that.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. That's what the left does. They in their mind believe that they're so smart, so much smarter than you, that they will put you in your place. So here's an answer. I support letting a woman and their doctors make this decision without government getting involved. Period. End of story.
So she was directly answering what Rand Paul said?
Yes.
Or
exactly.
Was it a different question?
No, it was exactly what he said about a 7-pound baby being aborted days before birth. She said, this is between a woman and her doctor. End of period. Or end of story. End of period. End of story. Period. And also referred to it as a glob of tissue.
What? A 7-pound glob of tissue?
Right.
Are you serious?
I swear to you. It's all over the net. And then Rand Paul was back in another presser.
That is, I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Ahead.
That is the most horrendous, clumsy attempt to do what Robert McNamara always said, which was don't answer the question that they ask you, answer the question that you wanted them to ask you. And she probably thought, oh, he said 7-pound baby. But what I wish he asked is, am I allowed to abort a 3-day-old conceived fetus?
So she answered the question backwards wrongly, and it came out horribly wrong.
It ends up coming out horrible because we're all referring to a baby that could probably survive on its own, even if you were to have it born like induced or whatever prematurely.
Well, they've got babies now being born at 5 months and living.
Right, and that takes a lot of labor from hospitals and stuff like that to do that, and I'm glad that that's possible, but an argument could be made by somebody, a really callous leftist, saying, hey, what if there was no society and we're just out in the wild and it came out prematurely? It's not going to survive anyway, and so, what are you saying, that we should labor force all these doctors to, involve?
What I would tell the Muslim that said that.
Yeah, okay.
What I would tell the Muslim out in the bush that said that is that it's something called we've evolved to being having this talent and this ability blessed upon us by God.
Oh, okay. Well, then the next question: who are you gonna make pay for that?
Whoever is willing to pony up and help out.
Well, what if it's not enough? Are you going to make the doctors work for less than what they deserve, force them to do it because it's a human life?
Well, the doctors that take the Hippocratic Oath do whatever is possible to save life.
So
that's their job.
So that's where the answer lies. See, there is no gray area here.
No,
we just came to the black and white right there.
Yeah, we come to the conclusion.
If we say you can only be a doctor by taking this Hippocratic Oath, then you have to violate the Hippocratic Oath by not saving that child.
Not only that, but I know plenty,
or doing everything in you can.
Right, you know tons and tons of doctors out there, and if you looked into their lives, hundreds of thousands of these doctors volunteer their time as a doctor for free for underprivileged children, people, kids in Haiti that need assistance and vaccines and vaccinations. I mean, that's just, when you become a doctor, you don't do that because you're going to become a rock star doctor. That's not normally what people do.
Not very often, although I have met a couple of doctors that you could clearly tell that they did it because they knew they were going to get with the ladies.
Like a gynecologist?
No, not that. Oh, my gosh. Actually, I'm not kidding you. You're going to laugh. I'm not kidding you. This is the God's honest truth. He's actually a gastrointestinal specialist, so he's the one with the plastic glove.
Oh, like on Seinfeld where Kramer got the car with the license plate that said Ass Man.
Yeah. He actually, a friend of mine, Skinny.
There you go.
It's his doctor. He calls him his a-hole doctor.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so anyway... And it's funny, so but you could tell by his attitude, he's got the nice Beamer, and he's got the beautiful McMansion.
But that doesn't come overnight, and that comes with a lot of work.
Oh, no, he earned it. He earned it.
Work, right.
But he comes off, to me, as being somebody who did it because he gets to go around bragging that he's a doctor.
Okay. I mean,
but that's rare. That's rare.
That is rare. So, but just to wrap this up, the next day or the day after, Rand Paul was in another presser. He was actually on Wolf Blitzer.
Oh, because now, whoa, here's the thing. He said, once you get an answer from her,
come back.
Then you can come back to me.
So Wolf comes back to him, and Wolf Blitzer prompts him for an answer. Rand Paul says, "Sounds clear. Her answer is yes. It's okay. She's okay with killing a 7-pound baby."
That's the way it should be interpreted. I don't even think that she would be, or that he would be taking her out of context or putting words in her mouth. I mean, that pretty much sums up.
Not even close. I mean, the left is all about, and I'm sorry to say this, folks, but they are all about, and they're okay with killing babies. Look at
and you know what?
Margaret Sanger.
I have respect for DWC now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Really?
For being so cavalier and honest.
I never thought about that.
Well, think about it. I mean, if the left would just be as honest, I can't believe I'm calling her honest, because her talking points when she gets on and they interview her on TV, CNN, wherever it is that she is, when she starts talking, it's like the most dishonest Robbie the Robot you've ever heard.
Right.
And she finally comes out and gives some truth. And it's important for everybody. We here at Smith Radio are here to combat low information voters. We got to educate people.
And we have to applaud those who tell the truth.
So then we can tell you what they said so that you can now be less misinformed.
Correct.
And so now that you're listening to us now, if you're a low information voter and you didn't know before, it is the policy of the left to kill children.
Yes.
There you go. If they don't want them. If you don't want the child, you can kill the child.
Well, but they also encourage young girls who attend Girl Scout to use Planned Parenthood for their
abortions.
Yeah, but to take care of their conscience, if they feel guilty about doing something wrong, you can just erase the wrongness.
Erase it.
You've done, like when you're a kid and you do something bad and your parents punish you, you have to learn from that and not do that again. Well, when you get pregnant out of wedlock, you're not married, and you get pregnant, and you're too young to support a child, and the guy, because not a man, the guy doesn't stick around. He rolls out. And now it's you, female, pregnant, with a baby, and nowhere to turn, nowhere to go. So what do? You listen to Planned Parenthood, who is part and parcel all of the left and communist. It's listen to them. Don't feel bad. You've made a mistake. We'll just erase that.
Right. There is no consequences whatsoever. And by the way, it's completely free. I don't know if I've ever said this on any of our previous shows before, but I've talked to Brian about this, in the past. But years and years and years ago, this has been back when Clinton was early in his presidency.
Oh, yeah.
I knew a girl who was 15 years old. 15. She was a child. And she decided, she was trying to decide on whether or not she wanted to become sexually active.
Oh, wow. Wow, at 15.
Yeah, and so obviously things were being, debated in her head, I guess, whether or not, how risky is this? What happens? The biggest risk in her mind was she could get pregnant. That was a big risk. You don't want to get pregnant when you're 15. You still got all these years of high school and college and all that. She's not ready for raising a child. She's not ready for that.
Right.
But a friend of hers, I can only assume, in fact, I'm not sure where she got this knowledge. Somehow she found out that she could walk into a Planned Parenthood office by herself at 15 years old and say, I want to have sex. Not with any of you, but
okay.
And they will proceed to say, oh, okay, would you like to be protected with birth control? And if she said yes, which she ended up saying yes, they would then supply her every single month with the birth control pills and the education on how to use it, and also would do this without their policy was to never, not only not tell the parents, but to make sure that she knew that this was going to remain anonymous.
So kids in school are not allowed to get an aspirin for a minor headache or an issue.
Oh, yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah.
But you can issue birth control to a child under the age of 18 without
under the age of 18.
Without parents' consent.
And I don't think that 15 was
Who's raising these children? Who's raising the children?
The fact that she was 15 probably wasn't even significant. She could have probably walked in there at 12.
Probably. They won't ask your age.
They
might not.
If they did, it didn't matter.
Right.
It didn't matter. And here's the thing. I didn't know this at the time. I found this out years and years later from listening to news reports that if she walked in there pregnant at 15, they would have given her an abortion and never told her parents about it.
Right. Well, California has passed a lot of laws.
That's so criminal. That is so criminal that here you are, you're raising children, your own child. You're the parent, you're the decider. You decide on what you presumably, except we can't decide on what they get taught at public schools.
Right, you can't decide what they get taught in public schools, and you can't control them. You can only guide them, and none of us are perfect. We're not perfect.
We should have the decision on
Absolutely.
the method of guidance.
Not
the
only
guidance should be our decision.
And not only that, but we also have the last say on whether our daughter, we have to sign off on if our minor decides to get earrings. So, but we can't,
which is such a minor thing, too.
Yet we can't
No pun
have
intended.
some kind of, right. We can't have some kind of input or say when it comes to another human life that my daughter is bearing?
Yeah, and it's not just her child; it's our grandchild. You're going to kill our grandchild,
and you better hunt down.
Let us know.
You better hunt down a baby daddy and make sure that he knows that this thing's being
that's right.
off.
It's not just her child.
No.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine the guy that ended up being, or what would have been the father? What if he had found out afterwards and said, "Hey, I don't agree to that stuff."
Yeah, there were a couple cases here recently that were brought up that
it's not his body. It's not his body.
that men were suing on behalf of the fact that the child is half theirs.
Right.
And that women that decide to get an abortion must also get the permission of the baby daddy.
I would think, even though I'm 110% against abortion as nothing more than just cold-blooded murder,
right?
Premeditated, by the way,
right?
Premeditated cold-blooded murder. It's definitely a step in the right direction to require the biological father's consent for something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to just saying, "Hey, I decided to do something that I shouldn't have done." What?
Oh my God! I forgot there was a story that went down this week.
Okay.
Right about this. Now, I'm not going to get too graphic details, but here in Ohio, out in Brown County, a couple years ago, there was a woman who had 3 children and was dating a guy. And this Dr. Laura says, don't ever date anybody until your children are grown if you've had a divorce or the husband has left for whatever reason. And this is clear. This is why. This is one of those glaring examples of why. So she started dating this guy, and she got pregnant by him. Well, she didn't want to be with him, but she was with him. However that happened, whether it was rape, or was consent or not. So she's pregnant. He didn't know she was pregnant. She had an abortion without him knowing. And then months down the road, she's trying to break it off with him. He's getting more and more obsessed with her. And she finally thinks that it's this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and this will really get rid of him. So she tells him, you know what, a couple of months ago I was pregnant, and I aborted it. The guy lost it. Oh, he went through the roof. He lost it so bad that he wound up coming back, and he killed her so that her daughters could find her dead, and the grandmother found her dead as well, in a very most horrific and brutal way. His trial was this last week, and after 3 days of testimony, his lawyers are trying to paint him as raised in a dysfunctional family, an alcoholic father, and he had troubled childhood. And granted, these 2 people were in their early 23, 24, and you're just trying to paint this whole bad picture. And I know the jury foreman. That's why I'm telling you all of the details are just gruesome. And she said after the 3rd day of testimony, he finally went back to the DA, district attorney, and cut a deal by pleading guilty. The deal was 15 to life, which means he'll be up for parole in 7 years for good behavior and be out. However, those 3 kids that woman has from a different man will live the rest of her oldest daughter, I think was 10.
Ooh.
Those 3 children will live the rest of their lives for the next 70, 80 years trying to overcome the horrific event that went down. So one abortion caused another death and has placed trauma on 2 completely not separate. Well, yeah, 2 completely separate families. His family that he killed her. I mean, crazy anyways. He might have killed somebody else, but the fact is he killed over an abortion. And her family and her kid's baby's daddy's family. I mean, everybody is involved because of one abortion.
Yeah, and the funny thing is well, it's not funny, but
ironic.
She could have been lying just to make him mad.
That very well could have been.
She may have never been pregnant. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, obviously we would know, but this still could have happened if she wasn't even telling the truth. But
right. So let's get up on Hillary real quick.
Oh yeah.
Now we're talking about abortion.
Right. I mean, we might as well get right into it, right?
So the NRA had their convention this week. National Rifle Association.
How does the NRA have anything to do with Hillary?
Well, Wayne LaPierre, which is a French name, I know, and he is conservative and the president of the National Rifle Association, was the president of this organization. He came out and spoke, and then he gave a handful of the conservative political party members running for president. He gave 10 minutes to each one to come up and speak in front of the NRA. Apparently Sarah Palin was up there, and Ted Cruz, and they even gave platform to Bush. I don't even want to talk about it. You know what? I am making it a point right now. We will not discuss Bush as running for president because there's no reason to.
You're talking about Jeb.
Jebby.
Well, I mean, as his name creeps more and more in the news, we're just going to tell you the truth about what's going on.
Yeah. So Wayne LaPierre took the podium, took the stand, opened up the convention, and he had this to say.
When her husband stalked and seduced a young White House intern and later perjured himself, Hillary didn't just look the other way. She actively participated in the cover-up and ensuing smear campaign against the victim.
Oh, that's so true. So true.
Boom!
Hey, you know what? You got to tell it how it is, and isn't that how it went down?
That is exactly how it went down. There is no question in my mind that that Hillary and everybody talks about it.
I'll never forget, because I was an adult when that was all going down.
Oh yeah,
and I'll never forget how excited the media was in general. I mean, that's my interpretation of it. That was back in my feely liberal days. So it felt to me like the media was very happy about the fact that during this whole debacle, his approval rating was like in the 90%.
They were excited. Hey, he's a
90.
sexually active and charged sexual man.
Yeah.
Doing sexual things. And what is it any of our business if he has sex and sex? And this is the left. They're obsessed with sex cells and sexual deviance, bisexual. And
by the way, getting back to the abortion, that's why abortion is just so important to them.
Right. Because it allows you to continue
to have free sex
at
and
all
free times with anybody you want at any time.
And I don't want to be here, and I don't want people to say, "Oh,
you're just a fuddy-duddy."
That's right.
You're a fuddy-duddy.
You're a prude. No, this breaking news this week. Bailey Smith, my daughter, she cornered me and said something. She was in trouble for something, and I was scolding her, and I told her, I said, just as you do these things that are wrong, don't think that I don't do things that are wrong. We both do things that are wrong, but we've got to correct those wrongs, try not to do them again, ask God to forgive you, and move on. Folks, don't think for 1 second that I'm not as human as any other man with a libido.
Oh, so you're trying to battle future accusations of hypocrisy.
Of course. Of course.
I got you now.
Course.
I got you.
But no, that's the truth. We are always attempting, as Christians, as followers of Christ, we always try to fight the good fight. And I now know, now that I'm older, I know what to fight the good fight means now.
Well, I can tell you from my personal experience that I can look back at my actions that one would deem as hypocrisy today as being, well, I was a liberal back then, and I thought what I was doing was either right or had no problems or was in a gray area anyway.
Well, and I never called myself a liberal, but I will say that without a doubt, I learned from Larry Elder, the talk show radio host out in L.A., He calls people that feel that they're victims. I'm a victim of society. He calls them victocrats.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I was a full-fledged, full-blown victocrat.
Well, because you were taught that that's the way you're supposed to react to anything that happens to you.
Right, and I always said to people, if there was no such thing as bad luck, I'd have no luck at all, which compounded the issue. And then I had issues with parents who had money and wouldn't help or wouldn't give or wouldn't this, and what you've got it all. Why wouldn't you give to me? I mean, just the snowball effect. And I had to grow up.
There's a lot of people I know that are like that.
I had to grow up. I had to break out of that and move on. Now that I'm where I'm at now, I have to build on that, and I have to get better, and I have to be humble and say, you know what? I've done a lot of bad things today.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of bad things today, but I'm gonna correct it. I'll put it on the shelf. I'm gonna move it aside, and I'm gonna move forward and move on. So that's my hedging off the at the corner.
Well, we're just trying to avoid being called hypocrites.
Right.
When we talk about the
So
back to Hillary's backing up her husband's adultery on her.
Right. So on Jake,
she's the victim.
Oh, she is the victim. She plays the victim all the time. Well, and the presidency was rightfully hers.
What difference at this point does it make anyway?
What difference at this point does it make?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So,
that's her reaction to, well, how do you feel about your husband doing all that?
Yeah.
He is exactly what he claims that he is not.
I'm not a pedophile.
Well, she was not a...
No, her husband. He is exactly what he claims he's not. I am not that.
Okay.
I'm not that. Well, that's what Obama as well. I'm not what you think I am, but he is who you think he is.
Well, he's never said he's not a communist.
No, but he did make that one statement.
Oh, the Muslim?
Well, no,
my Islamic faith.
The prop.
He said he was according to my Islamic faith. Like, wait, what?
Well, and then the commentator caught him and had him re-say that. No, I mean Christian. Right.
That's
right.
what I meant. That's what I meant.
So on Jake Tapper's show today, this week, he had Senator Cory Gardner from Colorado on, and he was talking. They were talking back and forth. Jake Tapper is on a show. We don't watch it. You don't need to watch it. I don't even.
What channel is it on?
IBC, CNN, the Calamity News Network. And so he's berating the NRA. He's going on and on. He's calling out talking points and this and that. And he says to Cory Gardner, during the NRA rally, we heard Republican take shots at Secretary Clinton. No pun intended. Right. The RNC...
No joke intended either.
No joke. No, not at all. The RNC, Republican National Committee, wasted no time releasing this ad on the heels of Secretary Clinton running. Let's listen to the clip. The clip he played it and it ran too short. I didn't like that. I wanted the full clip of the ad against Hillary. And I'll tell you why. Because the last part of this clip is what he cut out. But this is what the Republican National Committee...
You should have had both so you could do a side-by-side comparison. Like, this is what we heard, and this is the context.
Oh, well, I'll show you where he cuts off, where he stops it short. And, you know, maybe he just didn't want to waste time. But here's the ad that's running against Hillary for the Republicans.
Please join me in welcoming Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Hillary Clinton has some explaining to do.
Used her personal email account to conduct official business.
Wanted to reset relations with Russia.
Not really working out well.
Potentially catastrophic move for Hillary Clinton.
Taking millions of dollars from foreign governments.
Okay. So that's where it stopped, taking millions of dollars from foreign governments, which is also two huge stories this week about that.
Right, I've heard lots of stories.
But that's where his clip stopped, and this is the rest of the clip that I got.
Landing under sniper fire. It was a total crock. It was a lie.
What difference at this point does it make?
It's the under sniper fire that she claimed she was under snipper fire, which was a complete and total lie. Kind of like that NBC News reporter who said that he was being shot at.
Oh yeah, he ended up getting in big trouble. His were all proven false. He was making up stories out of thin air.
Just like the New York Times.
He was getting shot at from his helicopter and
snipper fire. And the other part, at what point? This is what she says.
What difference at this point does it make?
That is going to be her calling card for every. If these Republicans do not hold her feet to the fire, they will.
Benghazi.
Oh!
Benghazi.
So this week, this week everything happens this week. So that's.
I was so angry about Benghazi, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter that it happened to happen right before, like literally right before the 3 debates.
Right.
Like Benghazi happened, and then boom, we were having debates immediately, right. And this was right before the final election in November. I mean, it all happened all right then. It didn't matter that the timing would have been so great or that it was bad for Obama, that was so great for Mitt Romney. It just angered me, and it's going to keep angering me every time it gets brought up with Hillary. It's going to make me, because Obama was kind of guilty by association on Benghazi.
Well, he got the emails from Hillary's BlackBerry and her iPad.
And the buck is supposed to stop with him, so he should take the fall in general. But she is she deserves prison time for what happened.
Well, and Obama also said that Syria is completely in Hillary's hands, and she'll take care of it. Syria is now in complete civil war and utter disarray. So, however... we got to watch your time. Senator Cory... I lost my place. Cory Gardner.
Sorry about that.
Had this to say. Jake Tapper came back to Cory and said, so what do you make of that? I think there might even be a little clip. There's a little clip of Jake Tapper commenting and then going to Cory. And the reason why I put it in there is because I want you to hear in his voice just this thing about him when it comes to talking to Republicans, conservatives, and about the NRA.
Pretty sinister seeming ad. The Republican Party must be pretty worried about Secretary Clinton to be attacking her so quickly.
Well, I think this is just defining what the American people are already believing about Hillary Clinton. The fact is, several years ago, she ran a TV commercial against then candidate Obama. Who do you want answering the call? And I think what we're seeing here is defining Hillary Clinton on the phone call that she's been answering, the phone call of hiding her attempted emails at the State Department, the phone call that she's received from foreign donors to her foundations. And so I think the RNC and others are right to say, hey, you know what, she's the nominee, she's going to be the nominee, they've rolled out the red carpet for her. Now let's talk about what she has done during her time as Secretary of State and the things that she's done recently that really question whether or not she has the ability and the record to be President of the United States.
Speaking about sinisterism, that was such a sinister ad. But speaking about sinister ads, and speaking about Hillary and her record, were you listening to a show this week that discussed Hillary's extensive record?
Let me just first apologize right now. There's no way. I tried. I really did.
And the reason why I bring this up is because I want you guys during the week to be plugged into what we're plugged into.
Yeah, we get a lot of good material from listening to some of the most brilliant minds on radio, talk radio, AM. You could listen to this stuff over the internet stuff like iHeartRadio and all that. But I listen to Hannity a lot because of the timing. It comes on right before I got to go pick up my daughter. So a lot of times I'll pick up at least the first half hour of his 3-hour show. And I'm going to tell you right now, the first segment of his show on Friday, I can't find the audio for it. I even looked up the transcript for it.
Man.
Couldn't find the transcript, so I apologize in advance right now. I'd love to play the 5 to 10 minute clip in its entirety of him just blowing up on this. I think it was Jessica Jessica Ullerman or something. Is it? Let me see if I can find it again. Oh, Ulrich. Jessica Ulrich, I think, is who he was interviewing over the phone on his radio show. And she is a Democratic National Committee supporter. She's all gung-ho, 100% all for, it's EH. He's got the producer.
Wow.
Yeah, she's kind of a good-looking girl.
Holy
Yeah, but don't let the looks fool you.
I'm being fooled right now.
It's TWC.
She's St. Petersburg, Florida attorney. She was the Democratic nominee for Florida's 13th congressional district, losing to longtime incumbent Bill Young.
I believe that's who he was interviewing on Friday's first segment, and he started going off on her about her support of Hillary because of what has happened while she was Secretary of State, how it was pretty much a disaster, and it sounded like she was on the stand at a heated trial, and he's the prosecutor, the prosecuting attorney up there, and he's got her on the hot seat, and it went on, and it got so bad for her that she eventually hung up on him.
Wow!
Yeah, but one of the biggest things that I guess the climax of the interview was, Hannity asked her, "Can you name me 3 things of note?" He said specific things. I want specific things that she's done during her 20 years in the public eye, the public office, public whatever, that she's done that's any good, of any note at all.
Well, when she was Secretary of State, she did a great job there, Carrie.
Right, and that's what her answers were. Very vague.
Oh, not Secretary of State. I'm sorry, Senator. Because Secretary of State, there was Benghazi. Senator, what happened? What'd she do with Senator?
She kept
nothing.
No, she wouldn't say nothing. She kept on citing how good of a job she did. That literally was her answer, and Hannity kept kind of cutting her off for the most part, saying, "No, a specific example. Give me something specific that she did." And this one, and finally, she got to the point where she was like, "Well, I don't have specific examples prepared right in front of me." And he was like, "Okay, how about one example? Give me one thing that she did." And he kept repeating it over and over, and she looked so bad. Every time he asked her the question, it got worse and worse for her. And it was gold. It was just gold listening to it, because it made Hillary look bad. It made her look bad. It was just a disaster of an interview for her. And it's funny because I listen to Hannity almost every day just by default, and it's really nothing to ever write home about. If you've listened to my show enough, you hear me cite what I heard on Rush, and sometimes you even hear me cite what I heard on Glenn Beck. But I never really cite Hannity on anything because it's kind of vanilla, boring for the most part. It's good information. You're going to hear the news when you listen to Hannity. But it's not anything that you're like, oh my gosh, you should have heard what I heard on Hannity. No. Friday's first segment was something that needs to be captured on permanent audio and on your storage at some place, either on your computer, because it was just great.
On her Twitter account, she is blowing up the fact that she's on Bill O'Reilly.
Well, Bill O'Reilly's going to cut her some slack. This was the most non-slack cutting you have ever heard in your life.
I looked through the days, and there is no comment or mentioning of going on Sean Hannity's show.
Well, when you end up having to hang up on your interviewer, trust me. I remember thinking to myself, she has to be crying. As soon as she hung up, she's in her office. She just hung up. She's sitting there in silence all by herself. I guarantee you she busted out in tears.
Oh, my God.
It went that bad for her. And the thing is Hannity was not abusive. It wasn't like, oh, look at a man beating up on an innocent damsel in distress. No. He was very fair. He was very clinical. He was not. He wasn't flying off the handle. He wasn't raising his voice. He was just like, can't you answer these really simple questions? She couldn't do it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, well, let's run through this real quick. We got a couple of things to hit real fast before we wrap it up. Obama is trying to woo the Castro brothers once again. We mentioned last week Castro has surfaced. It is Weekend at Bernie's all over again, and somebody is propping him up with a stick up. Well, you know.
Andrew McCarthy? Is that who? Andrew McCarthy? Is that the guy that was in Weekend at Bernie's?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so Andrew McCarthy must have taken a trip down to Cuba to pull. I think it was Raul, though. He's still alive.
Well, they're both alive, but Raul is kind of running it a little bit.
Right.
Because
Okay.
brother's out. So Raul, before he met with Obama this week, took to the microphone in front of Castro told 35 in front of the 35 Nations Summit in Panama as they prepared to hold one historic one-on-one meeting later that day with Obama. This is what Raul Castro told 35 nations that were listening.
I have read some of his biographies. I mean, the 2 books written about his life. I have not been able to read them in full. I will do that with more time. But I admire him and his life. And I think that his behavior has a lot to do with his humble background.
Okay, so he doesn't know what his background is. I'm sure they were in these books. I didn't read them, but what?
He said, I admire Obama, and he said, I respect Obama, and he said, Obama is a good man.
Okay, that seems kind of vague.
Well,
maybe he's got a bad translator.
When you are the dictator of a nation,
a communist nation,
keeping your people impoverished, and you say that you respect another individual?
Interesting. Why would he respect him? Is there a reason?
Did he respect Bush? Did he respect Reagan? Did he respect anybody? He also...
How does he all of a sudden respect... I mean, you could make the argument, well, he's opening up trade with Cuba. Why wouldn't he say he respects him? He respects him because of that. That would be the argument.
Yeah. So during their talks, Castro made demands. He said, one, that Cuba be removed from the international terrorist list.
By the way, I'm going to be honest, as much as I hate Cuba as far as the...
I don't know why they're on
Fidel.
the list. Yeah.
And if you're Cuban out there listening, I'm sure Cruz... I'm not saying I hate your country. Definitely Castro and anybody who's pro-Castro and is a communist in general.
Yeah.
But as much as I hate all that, I lost my place.
We don't think that he should be on the international terrorist list.
Right. Why are they on the terrorist list?
I don't know. So he wants to be removed from that.
I mean, there is no fear of me. I mean, of all the things that I worry about Cuba being involved in or what their past was, I'm not screening them at the airport for bombs. I mean, come on. I have no idea. Worried about a Cuban suicide bomb.
The CIA and FBI and all those 3-letter organizations involved have something else. I don't know. So the second thing he wants is he wants Cuban reparations for economic damages.
He's getting it
by the U.S. embargo for the last 1,000 years.
the indigenous people are going to get paid now.
Right. And they will find relatives of those who are dead to pay them their share.
No, Brian, no. They're going to exhume the bodies
Stick
of those that... No, they're going to put it in the coffin and rebury it.
Of course.
That's what they're going to do.
So 3 immediate transfer of Guantanamo Bay to the Cuban government.
Which we know that
they house terrorists there.
Well, I mean, they're not going to give the terrorists to Cuba. Maybe that's why they're on the international terrorist list, because they're all in Guantanamo Bay.
So Iran. So we're jumping shark, but we're going to Iran.
Yeah, we got to hurry up because literally I got to leave in about 2 minutes.
Iran nuke deal gone bad. John Kerry says Congress can vote as long as it doesn't interfere with Obama's deal. The MSNBC news outlets say that if John Kerry can cut a deal, then he should be up for a Nobel Peace Prize. Iran leader blasts Obama. Deal or no deal, we do have heavy demands. Nuke deal falls apart. Iran fires up centrifuges and claims that they will make a nuke.
Yeah.
Iran says the only deal is if you remove the sanctions 100% right now. So
basically, we got this great deal with Iran where they will have all their sanctions removed,
right?
And in return, they will fire up all their centrifuges.
Correct.
What kind of a deal is that?
It's an Obama deal, Obama-John Kerry deal.
And, what do you think the motive is?
For Iran to be able to take over the entire Middle East.
No, what's Obama's motive?
He wants to help Muslims at all costs.
Wow, I was hoping it was something less sinister.
No. That is very, very, very sinister. So last year, Obama paid taxes, and it's been exposed. Obama reported that he made $477,000 last year.
I was going to ask you, how much wealth was redistributed to Obama? Because that's what communism is. It's all about redistributing all of the wealth into the hands of the leader.
At making $500,000, $500,000 in 1 year, you would expect to pay somewhere in a 30 to 40% margin.
You would think.
He paid 19% tax on his money.
But you know what? I'm not going to sit there and fault him because then that would make us hypocrites.
Well, Obama had all his vacations leading up till now.
Well, that's a write-off. That's a business
taxpayer paid his vacations. $44.5 million on his vacations. His Christmas vacation over the past 3 years, $15 million. Transportation cost only.
$15 million. Wow. So you would think that would be a gift, so you earn that.
Right.
The way the government works is this: if you get something that's worth something for free, that is considered income, and you have to pay taxes on that.
He should have to pay taxes on all that money. Those millions.
So if he did $35 million worth of vacations, he should pay taxes on the $35 million because
it was gifted money.
He didn't pay that to have it. It was gifted money to him.
Right. 30-year reunion of Obama's lawyer classmates at the law school he supposedly attended. They were interviewed.
Oh, that sounds juicy.
They said,
I gotta leave.
They said nobody remembers ever seeing him in class.
And that's what we all suspected.
A ghost student. Not only that, but he claims that he was the president of the Law Society.
What's up with these police shootings?
Police shootings.
We got two of them. We got one.
Black guy got shot.
That was last week. Last week a black guy got shot in the back while he was hobbling away. It wasn't even sprinting away or running. It was like kind of a light jog away from this cop, and the cop was screaming, "He's got my taser!" Which, let me tell you something. Let him go with the damn taser.
Right.
Let him go. Now, I will admit, I wouldn't chase a man with the taser because let's say he caught up with you, or let's say you caught up with him. If he tases you, he could reach down and grab your gun, and that's dangerous.
Oh, yeah, very, very true.
But I don't know, man. I mean, do you shoot somebody in the back as they're running away because they're running away with your taser?
You can't. It's illegal. It's against the law.
What that guy did was so shocking. I mean, whatever.
So
we could talk an hour on that.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
There was a campaign to help raise money for the police officer. GoFundMe shut it down. They won't say why. Okay, fair enough. Spike Lee comes out with a new film. Calls it Chiraq.
Like
Chicago, Iraq, together. Chiraq.
So wait a minute. Please tell me it's about how there's so many people dying in Chicago because of the gun control laws are failing, apparently.
CBS is up on end, and so is everybody else, for all this so awful because it's an insult to the city of Chicago.
So I'm right.
Yes! So
I'm actually
I applaud this film.
I'm shocked because I would think, based on my knowledge of Spike Lee, I would expect him to never come out with anything that was anything other than propaganda that is pro-Obama.
He refers to Chicago as being the new Iraq. All the murders and deaths and killings.
That can't look good for Obama, which is shocking that Spike Lee would come out with something
very,
like this.
Very bad.
I'll give him a thumbs up for that.
Israeli has been able to get dogs to predict cancer 98% of the time correctly.
Okay.
And Russia is attempting to create or to do the first ever head transplant.
Oh, that's got to happen.
I'm thinking so. Well, folks,
that was the lightning round.
That was the lightning round.
We had a lightning round.
Join us next week for all the news and breaking news of the week. You guys have a good week. Stay tuned.
See you guys.
Good night.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.